Hey guys, welcome back to another new story, and without further ado, let's start the story. As the story unfolds, we find ourselves in an old castle on a stormy night. A man dressed in royal clothing stands before a young woman named Yusinil. He begins to act intimately towards her, causing her to recoil slightly and tug at his clothes. She asks him to wait. As he tries to undo Yusinil's clothing, he expresses his happiness that she approached him first. Just as he is about to finish, Yusinil pushes him away and calls him testfully unnuzzel. Intrigued, she questions whether the order for executing the Viscount's eldest son truly came from him. Testfullian doesn't deny it. He explains that it's because the Viscount's son committed a wrongful act deserving of such punishment. Yusinil is puzzled about what act could justify execution, but Testfullian quickly reveals that it's because the man proposed to her. With a threatening smile, he asserts that no one can propose to Yusinil except him, kissing her hand. Despite the man declaring his love, Yusinil appears worried and sad. He affectionately licks her fingers while repeating his words of love. Finally, he urges her to focus only on him as he pushes her down. She doesn't resist his advances but wonders how things came to this. They're about to kiss passionately, but her mind is still consumed by thoughts of how things went wrong. The scene shifts to an emergency at a hospital, where staff rush a young woman to the ER, calling for a transfusion. As her vision fades, she sees her mother in tears, begging the staff to save her daughter. She apologizes to her mother before closing her eyes for the last time. Suddenly, Yusinil wakes up, back to reality. She tries to calm herself from the haunting dream. A young blonde child, addressing her as sister, asks what's wrong. With a worried expression, Genial Hardrant, also known as Gale, checks on her older sister for any signs of distress. Their parents, Duke Milen Hardran and Duchess Seal, are also concerned and halt the carriage. But Yusinil, or Yule as her parents call her, assures them everything is fine. She's feeling a bit out of sorts as she heads back to the capital after 14 years. When her companions brush it off, assuming she's just nervous, they smile and tease her gently, seeing her as their beloved daughter despite her mature demeanor. The carriage stops, and the coachman announces their arrival at the Duchy Manor. Not much has likely changed in her hometown during her long absence. It's been 2 decades since Usinil Hardrant became a stranger in this new world, a common occurrence where people find themselves transported to a fantasy realm after death. What sets her story apart is that she hasn't experienced typical fantasy media in her previous life. Initially, she thought her new reality was a dream. Born into one of the founding families of the Buck Empire, the Hardrant Duchy, she resides with her loving family. Unlike Yule, Gale has no memory of the place as their family was exiled before her birth. Yule feels guilty for their exile, but her family reassures her, showing unwavering love and support. It's the kind of family everyone wishes for, kind and supportive. Yule, though feeling like a stranger in this world, has adjusted well and feels at home. She playfully pushes her family inside the manor, grateful for their love and support, yet knowing deep down that this isn't where she truly belongs. There's something she still needs to accomplish. With a pleasant smile, she informs her parents of her decision to transfer to the Kansam Research Institute. The Kansam Research Institute, a renowned national institution primarily focused on mana research, boasts a rich history significant enough to contribute to the operation of the Academy for Nobles. In a world where elves, gods, and mythical beings exist, delving into mana research might offer a clue on how to return to her original world. Surprisingly, her admission to the institute is swiftly authorized, despite having recently taken the entrance exam. The process unfolds seamlessly. Upon requesting an enrollment form at the admission office, the receptionist immediately recognizes Yule from the Hardrant family, indicating that they were already aware of her intention to enroll. The power of strong family connections proves remarkably convenient. Yule smiles with satisfaction, eager to commence her mana research without delay. As she traverses the premises, she is hailed by someone from afar. From their appearance alone, it's evident that these 3 ordinary-looking girls will likely become our protagonists' antagonists. Onlookers react to the familiar family name, recalling the family's exile during the previous empire's rule. One spectator chastises his companion, warning him to mind his words as speaking ill of the Hardrant family in the presence of the Crown Prince, His Majesty, could lead to trouble. Yule overhears their chatter and is puzzled by the mention of the Crown Prince's involvement with her family. Recalling a certain prince from her past, she smiles fondly, lost in the memory. However, her reverie is interrupted when the third-rate antagonist rudely calls out to her for ignoring them. The yellow-haired girl insists on confirming Yule's identity as a member of the Hardrant family, but Yule simply gazes back at her expressionlessly. She wonders if this rude individual hails from a Viscount family. With the Tyrant family's exile weakening the duchy's influence, the Viscount's power naturally surged. With a cold smirk, Yule decides she owes no kindness to someone displaying hostility, even though she cares little for family power struggles. Her laughter further infuriates the yellow-haired girl, who receives a pitying glance from Yule. Yule questions the girl's noble lineage, noting that addressing strangers by name indicates a lack of proper etiquette from her family. Embarrassed by Yule's remarks, the yellow-haired girl is left speechless, her jaw dropping to the floor as the surrounding spectators chuckle. She defiantly introduces herself as Lily Shane, boldly proclaiming her ambition to become an empress one day. Amid their fruitless argument, the crowd suddenly begins to bow their heads in respect as a man approaches. Meanwhile, Yule dismisses Lily's ambitions, stating she couldn't care less about such matters. Lily becomes enraged, accusing Yule of arrogance due to her past acquaintance with the now reigning monarch when he was just a crown prince. Lily belittles Yule as merely a member of the fallen Tyrant family. Approaching from behind with a sinister grin, the suspicious man catches Yule's attention. He echoes Lily's words about the Tyrant family's fallen status, sending a shiver down her spine. Claiming responsibility for the order to return the Tyrant family, he accuses someone of disobeying his command, hinting at Lily. As the crowd greets the approaching man with synchronized reverence, he commands his followers to drag Lily away and execute her. Yule observes the scene, realizing that Tess, the former crybaby prince, has ascended to the throne. But the cold gaze of the man before her remains unfamiliar. Who is this new emperor? It's revealed that within the vast universe, countless worlds exist, each isolated from the others, often unaware of each other's existence. However, occasionally, individuals traverse between these worlds, explains a young Yule as she closes the book she was reading. The book isn't what she's searching for, she seeks a method to move between worlds. This quest has occupied her since she was 6 years old. While reading under a tree, she's interrupted by a young blonde prince, Tess. Yule's expression suggests annoyance at his arrival, anticipating trouble. Tess approaches with a cheerful demeanor, expressing how much he missed Yule. Despite his informal approach, Yule maintains a formal tone, which displeases Tess. He offers her flowers and proposes marriage, displaying boldness uncommon for children. Yule, uninterested, rejects him, stating he's not her type. Undeterred, Tess asks about Yule's ideal partner. As she's about to respond, the scene shifts back to the present, where Yule's gaze meets the cold stare of the black-haired emperor. The new Tess, starkly different from her memories. The former prince, Tessville Ewan Newsville, was once a sickly crybaby and Yule's childhood friend, often playfully pursuing her. Yule continues to gaze at the man she once knew as Tess, now so different from the person she remembers 14 years ago. She wonders about the identity of this cold-hearted individual. An elderly bystander, resembling a professor, steps in, pleading with the emperor to forgive Lily's youthful ignorance and show mercy just this once. He reveals Lily to be the youngest daughter of the Viscount Shane family, stripped of their possessions by the previous emperor. Upon ascending the throne, he vowed to restore what was taken from them. Lily, unable to contain her tears, awaits the emperor's decision. The emperor regards Lily disdainfully, scoffing at the audacity of someone from the Shane family speaking out. Yule is perplexed. While the man's appearance resembles Tess, his drastic personality change in just 14 years is bewildering. Speculating on the reason, Yule considers the possibility of Tess undergoing a villainous transformation after rejection in his youth. Observing his features closely, she notes the inconsistency. Tess should have blonde hair and blue eyes as a descendant of the imperial family. The lack of surprise at a black-haired emperor is peculiar. Yule intervenes, bowing her head and seeking forgiveness on Lily's behalf. Despite her grave mistake, Yule suggests that forgiveness would showcase the emperor's benevolence. Tess, momentarily silent, observes Yule's formal demeanor, acknowledging her gesture. Yule believes that if this man is the Tess she once knew, he will listen to her. However, there's a possibility he may not remember her after so long. As Yule prepares to introduce herself, Tess interrupts, praising her generosity and placing his hand on her shoulder with a mysterious smile. He commends her for seeking forgiveness for someone who insulted her family. The elderly man, revealed as the school's dean, agrees with the emperor's sentiments. Tess's expression, observed by Yule, confirms his identity. Tess then lowered the punishment of Lily, reducing it to being locked up in the imperial prison. Yule watches him as he gives out the punishment, looking at him with worried and concerned eyes. His Majesty asked Yule's companion to show him around the academy. Naturally, she respectfully agreed to it, but she still can't shake it off her mind how Tess's appearance changed this much. They roam around the campus, with Yule leading the way. Tess did not utter a single word up until they reached the forest trial. She is still preoccupied by Tess's drastic change in his appearance due to the fact that she is sure that it wasn't caused by magic since she can't feel any mana. And in this world, contact lenses and hair dyes do not exist as well. Yule ponders if there's a secret magic she's unaware of as she becomes lost in thought. Despite Tess repeatedly calling her name, she remains distant until he finally embraces her from behind, addressing her as Yusenil. His pained expression leaves Yule bewildered and uncertain of how to react. Tess apologizes, further adding to her confusion. He acknowledges her apparent frustration at his tardiness, speculating that it may be why she's been formal with him and addressed him as Your Majesty. Tears well up in his eyes as he desperately pleads for Yule's forgiveness. Yule gently holds his face, her touch comforting as she softly calls him by his name, Tess. Relieved to hear his name from her lips, Tess had feared she'd forgotten him. Yule harbors many questions she wants to ask Tess, particularly why he never sent a single letter during their exile. However, in that moment, such inquiries pale in comparison to seeing him cling to her, shedding tears, which softens her heart. As if transported back to their childhood, Yule wonders if Tess truly remains the same person she knew years ago. Seizing the opportunity, she questions Tess about his altered appearance and any events that occurred while she was away. In response, he simply takes her hand and kisses it, asking if she approves. Attempting to explain that such changes likely aren't due to magic, Yule is interrupted as Tess insists it's simply her preference. He recalls her previous statement about liking men with black hair and eyes, suggesting he altered his appearance to match her taste. Yule's curiosity persists, prompting her to inquire further. Tess responds by drawing her closer, enveloping her in a tender embrace that quiets any further questions. He reassures her that as the Emperor, they no longer need to be apart and she won't have to endure insults like earlier. As Tess playfully nibbles her ear and professes his love, promising eternal togetherness, calling her his Yusenil, Yule feels a sense of unease amidst the romantic atmosphere. It seems to her like she's fallen into a perfect trap. Despite his declarations, she can't shake the feeling of eeriness. Flashback to their childhood, Yule, known as the child who never cried, and Tess, dubbed the perpetual crybaby. Yule always gazed straight at her parents without shedding a tear, while Tess was characterized by his constant tears and emotional sensitivity. The Emperor, concerned about Tess's lack of companionship, orchestrated a meeting between the two peculiar children. Since then, Tess claims his eyes no longer ache. Instead, they find solace in Yule's presence, his innocence shining through his smile. Tess has been devoted to Yule ever since their childhood encounter. Though Yule finds it somewhat annoying when he makes various excuses to visit her home, she doesn't truly mind. Almost every time she contemplates finding a way back to her original world, Tess appears unexpectedly at her window, bearing flowers and expressing his longing for her, much to her surprise and delight. Surprised by Tess's sudden appearance, Yule falls silent, prompting him to inquire if she's injured. However, she responds with an infectious smile, teasing him for his unconventional entrance through the window. Tess's affection provides Yule with occasional comfort. Each visit invariably includes talk of marriage, as Tess expresses a desire to avoid the inconvenience of traveling back and forth to see her. Initially, Yule dismisses these discussions as childish complaints, assuming Tess is still naive about the ways of the world. She never imagines his behavior could change based on her words, unaware of the profound impact they can have. Lost in thought, Yule is startled when Tess closes in on her face and questions her thoughts in his presence. Whispering that he's disappointed, his words shock her to the core, prompting a violent reaction. Yule pushes him away, addressing him by his full name, Tesfulion, and chastising him for going too far. Her distraught expression reflects her serious intent as she firmly asserts she won't tolerate such jokes anymore. Tess, feeling a pang of disappointment, witnesses Yule's unwavering resolve regarding his feelings. Despite Yule's preoccupation with whether Tess truly altered his appearance in response to her words, His Majesty confirms her suspicions, admitting to changing his clothing to match her preferences. Blushing slightly, he asks if she likes it. However, Yule's expression reveals her inner turmoil. She's unsure where things went wrong and continues to contemplate. Tess offers to change all the decorations to black if she desires, but Yule isn't interested in superficial changes. She wants to know how he changed his appearance. A heavy silence descends between them as Yule presses him for an explanation, but Tess remains silent. With a mischievous glint in his eyes, he finally speaks up, proposing a deal. He'll reveal the truth only if she agrees to marry him. Yule is left speechless, stunned by his sudden seriousness after his carefree demeanor. A mix of astonishment and distress crosses her beautiful face, leaving her utterly distraught and at a loss for words. The Tyrant family returns from exile after 14 years. Yule feels offended by Lily's remarks on the street. Tess, now the Emperor, steps in to defend Yule. As they catch up on lost time, they have many questions for each other. Later, Tess tells Yule she'll only explain his changed appearance if she agrees to marry him, which puts her in a difficult position. Yule wonders if her family's exile might be related to his altered looks, but Tess avoids giving a clear answer. Frustrated, Yule decides to leave. Tess persists, offering a gift and asking to accompany her home, but Yule declines. Tess reveals the gift is access to the royal library, including its new annex with extensive magic books. She tempts Yule with the opportunity to rent any book except those banned, enticing her with the promise of valuable research material. Once again, the mischievous prince sets a romantic atmosphere. As Yule holds the library entrance badge, he delicately takes a strand of her hair, admiring its scent, and then kisses it with the charm of a true prince, captivating his princess. Startled, Yule pulls away, attempting to reprimand Tess for his inappropriate behavior. But before she can speak, Tess bids her farewell, mentioning he'll wait for her at the palace, standing by a teleportation portal. Urging her to hurry as his patience wears thin, he disappears through the portal, leaving behind a faint mist. Yule, stunned, tries to make sense of what just happened. She's astonished that someone like Tess can wield teleportation magic, the most advanced form of magic. The scene shifts to the sound of swords clashing within the duchy mansion. Yule and her training partner engage in intense sword practice, the echoes of their blades ringing through the halls. While Yule is deeply focused on improving her skills, her partner pleads for a moment's respite. Her sparring partner, Bornart, takes a step back, catching his breath, and suggests that Yule takes a break. He remarks that she's pushing herself too hard, but Yule remains resolute, insisting he's still not strong enough. Edel, also a member of the royal guard, acknowledges Yule's exceptional swordsmanship, stating that only she would dare call a royal guard weak. As Yule hydrates herself, Edel explains that her elven heritage grants her extraordinary strength. Upon her return to the capital, she promptly joined the Conceum and has the endurance to train tirelessly for days. Drawing closer, Yule playfully teases Edel about neglecting to write her while she was away. But Edel refutes her claim, affirming that he sent her numerous letters. Transitioning to a more earnest tone, he admits to putting great effort into composing those letters. Touched by his sincerity, Yule drops the teasing and changes the subject. She inquires if he continued visiting the palace after her family's exile to the barren lands. With a concerned expression, she asks his opinion on whether Tess has changed. However, Edel, not as close to the monarchy as Yule, maintains that in his eyes, Tess remains the same as when he was the crown prince. After their initial meeting, Yule questioned everyone, including her parents, about any changes in Tess. However, they all claim not to notice any alterations in the prince, not even his physical appearance. Edel's remark about the situation being unsettling catches Yule's attention. He goes on to explain that there's been a sense of unease since Tess took the throne, describing it as a troubling atmosphere. Yule falls silent, troubled by Edel's words despite knowing Tess's former sweetness and innocence. Though their recent interaction aligns with her memories of him, she can't shake off Edel's concerns. With a concerned expression, the knight advises Yule to avoid getting too involved. Listening to her instincts, Yule reluctantly agrees with Edel's advice, but she can't shake off a lingering feeling. Despite warnings from her friend and her own intuition telling her not to go, Yule finds herself drawn to the royal palace. She simply can't resist the opportunity to learn more about magic. As she enters the castle, unaware of being watched from a window, she is observed by Tess, who remarks that he's been eagerly awaiting his Yusinil. With that, I conclude this first part of this intriguing manhwa. Now, what will happen next? Why does Yusinil's subtle recoil hint at a deeper mystery behind their relationship? How does the stormy night serve as a metaphor for the tumultuous emotions brewing between Yusinil and the man? Lastly, what secrets lie hidden within the folds of the man's royal attire, and how do they influence the power dynamics at play? Tune in next time for this manhwa, and I assure you, I will continue to deliver for you. Thank you for supporting our channel. As always, it's our destiny to discover new manhwa.